Hello, this is David Garrett. This is my research proposal for Research and Design, Module 7. This is a study on the hiring practices of the National Football League and other major sports leagues, but the main focus is on the NFL. There's a huge push to find answers for the hiring practices in many different fields in our world today. Sports is no different. Equality is at an all-time high in many aspects of our great nation. It is the utmost importance in modern times for people to have an equal playing field. And although there's one major sport that we're going to discuss today lacking equality in the United States, which is the NFL or the National Football League. In the 102 years since the NFL was founded, it has always struggled in this one major capacity, which is the hiring of African American coaches as assistants, coordinators, head coaches, front office staff, ownership. This has always been a prevalent issue, especially being brought to the forefront the last few years. Numbers have not risen much to what they were before the Jim Crow era. So in 60 years, nothing. There are more percentages are higher, but just a few percentage points over what they were 60 years ago during Jim Crow. Some background: there's not been enough research conducted to attain a large depth of knowledge needed to tackle the problem in the NFL. Noticing that the hiring of African Americans has to be improved. There is one source for this information, one study, and that's the Tide Sports Analytical Report Card of hiring practices for each major sports league in the country. It breaks it down from NBA to NFL to MLB, soccer to all the biggest sports in the United States. The site states that the hiring practices, while improving year to year, are still numerically significantly lower than they should be. So things are trending the right direction, but there are not very large, vast, big jumps in numbers that significantly help the hiring of African Americans. The site takes all kinds of categories into consideration. It's a great starting point for the research that needs to be conducted. It basically, it lists all the practices, percentages, and that type of thing. It's in my reference page if you want to take a look. But the research as to why these things happen or are happening has not been very thoroughly conducted. So in order to take a look into the NFL's hiring practices, there also needs to be a look into NCAA's hiring practices for Power 5 schools. Kind of going, it starts at the younger ages because I believe there are a lot more African American high school football coaches than there are NFL, percentage-wise. And so if we can find some issues in the next level before the NFL, maybe some adjustments there that are made can be practiced in the NFL to increase the hiring of African Americans. Like I said before, very little research done, especially the NCAA. There was a study by Zachary Saunders from the University of Pittsburgh into the hiring practices of Power 5 football programs. His research is a great starting point for us to find the root cause of this issue. The purpose of this study is to collect and analyze data from research conducted to ascertain why African American coaches are not hired at a higher rate in the National Football League. This empirical study is to help implement more efficient and reflective hiring practices in the NFL, meaning, there are a lot more African American players percentage-wise than there are coaches. They don't match. Would more training and professional development ensure better practices are taken into account by the NFL, or harsher criticism from news channels and social media? Will that play a bigger role, in determining how to right this wrong? Purpose continued. The questions will further analyze the issue at heart, and if and when the results come back to show discrimination in hiring practices, the National Football League should be held accountable for its actions in some way, and that could mean monetary fines or suspensions for the members of ownership or the people in charge of hiring. Period. The method I will use to attain the data needed for people's thoughts on the hiring issue in sports is to use a questionnaire that will get people's true thoughts on the issue. The participants in the study will be athletes, coaches, and upper management involved in professional sports leagues in the United States of America. Also members of the sports media. They will be the best group, I believe, to attain information due to their careers, which involve the NFL, and being in the sports industry where the issue is at its greatest. The style of sampling will be convenient sampling. It will offer the most convenience for the busy athletes and members of the media. The instrument I'll use for the study will be a questionnaire or survey asking the people involved in the major sports leagues their true thoughts on major issues of African Americans not being hired at proper percentages of the makeup in the league. So, there'll be certain items on there that will, they won't have to fear ridicule. They'll be able to answer truthfully since they will not be it'll be done anonymously. The study will be carried out by sending out questionnaires to front offices of every major sports league and allow them to distribute it to all the organizations in their respective leagues. They will send them out to the media, and they will answer a few dozen questions that allow me to fully ascertain their feelings on the current hire practices. Process of answering these questions will only take up to 30 minutes maximum. It's a very easily completed questionnaire. So this proposal will incorporate several key factors in determining why the hiring practices for the major sports leagues are so inconsistent right now. The leagues will be pressed to answer for results expected in this research proposal. There's no excuse for the current hiring practices. Leagues need to be held accountable for their lack of diversity in the modern sports world, and the louder the results speak, the more change that will come about. And here you see the racial and gender report card and two other places I found articles on information regarding this topic. Thank you.